Hello, welcome to this evening's meditation, our part 3 in nuance. All right, I'm just waiting for the reset. Okay, we might not have a reset this evening unless it's going to be a 20-second delay. Nope, it's not resetting. Woohoo! Okay, great. Nope, there it goes. All right, so there's a 20-second delay. All right, welcome again in case the first part got cut off due to the reset. Welcome to a late evening of our focusing on nuance in a clickbait world, how to keep our thinking flexible. So this one I want to try a little bit differently. We will be doing a tune-in. I have dropped 2 mantras into the description if you'd like to listen to those as we go through this because I feel what we're talking about is pretty heavy and I like to have mantras to help me ground. The one I'm listening to is Apsahayi Hoa and helps with negativity, helps to expand outward. Um, the second one is Chata Chakravarti. Sorry, I have to slow that one down. The spelling goes through my head first and the spelling throws me off, so I have to really slow down on that one. I can chant it just fine, but when I look at the spelling, it like short circuits my neurons. Anyway, that one is for courage. Also helps with elevating and allowing things to flow freely. So I've listed both of those if you'd like to listen to a mantra as we go through this. Feel free to pick any mantra that you choose or an affirmation if that works better for you. I typically don't offer those because they generally don't work for me. I always felt like, well, I'm just repeating a phrase I don't believe. So that's part of why I don't offer those, not because I don't think that they help others, mostly because I don't think of them because they don't help me. So feel free to pick any phrase, use the mantras if that helps. Feel free to tap, um, anything like that. Bring your focus to your breath if you need to. And then also, as always, listen to what your boundaries are, listen to what your intuition, what your body is guiding you is appropriate for where you are. This is not a competition. We are not in competition with one another. I would also just like to reiterate I am an expert in my own journey. So I'm sharing the tools that I use daily to help me stay fully present, grounded, and as open to the best of my ability moment to moment. I am not an expert in what you are. So please always listen to what your intuition is saying. If it gets to be too intense, you feel like there's a psychological crisis, please reach out to a mental health professional or a medical professional, depending on what the issue is. This is meant to be supportive and elevating, it's meant to be supplementary. Okay. Those were the only highlights that I wanted to hit before we kicked off. So let's go ahead and tune in. Go ahead and rub your beautiful palms together. Close your eyes. Bring your hands to heart center. I've been misspeaking all day, so bear with me as I try to get my teeth around the words I'm searching for here. So we'll tune in with the Adi mantra. Om Namo Gurudev Namo, repeated 3 times. Inhale to begin. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. My apologies for the tone deaf singing. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Inhale deeply, hold the breath, pull the root lock. Exhale, we'll do that 2 more times. Actually, this time we'll hold the breath out. So complete your exhale, hold the breath out, pull the root lock while holding the breath out. Okay, inhale. Hold the breath in, pull the root lock. Exhale. Hold the breath out, pull the root lock, hold the breath out. And inhale. Pull the root lock. And exhale. Go ahead and shake out your hands. Wanted to do a little bit of a shake up there. Helps to kind of open us up a little bit, get us off our normal routines to help us kind of see things in a different light. So I kind of wanted to open with some things that I've been noticing myself that have been weighing me down. So I'll be sitting there, I'm scrolling along, one headline screaming at me, X destroys Y with one fact. Another is promising me the one secret to eternal happiness. And it feels, our digital landscape for me right now feels like a carnival of certainty. Everybody has the answer, or people are just getting destroyed with one fact out here everywhere. And the algorithms are rewarding outrage and simplicity, not because of any moral bearing, not because of any real substantive issues or grounding. They're they're rewarding outrage and simplicity because it's driving engagement. I'm sure a lot of you are already aware of that. I just wanted to reiterate some basics before we go a little bit deeper. So I started to question, okay, what's the cost of this environment on my own inner world? So I want you to think of a couple of headlines that you've seen as you've been scrolling. What are the titles? What are the thumbnails? What are the headlines that you're seeing that grab your attention? Right? Not necessarily the story. I'm not asking for that. I'm just as I want you to consider, I want you to think about what happens to you inside while you're scrolling. What's going on in your inner world as you're scrolling through whichever app you're using, whatever platform you're on, right? And yeah, I want you to think about this. Pull up a couple of times today, yesterday, whenever that you were scrolling along, you're seeing all these headlines, and just notice what happens. Is there tension that rises? Do you feel more anxious? Do you feel more afraid? Do you feel elevated? Maybe your algorithm, maybe your whole algorithm is just puppies and hilarious videos. So as you're considering that, keep taking notice of what's happening within you as you think about when you're scrolling. Or if you're currently scrolling, look at what's happening inside you. Look at what's going on within your mind, your emotions, your physical being. And I want you in the back of your mind to keep track of the fact that this trains our minds to see quick answers. It trains us to pick teams. And it's reinforcing the us versus them. Now, the issue here, among many, the issue that I really want to bring into focus while we're talking tonight is this makes the both and mindset feel not just difficult, but inefficient and unrewarding, right? Because if we make space for nuance, we're not as easily swayed by engaging in the outrage culture, right? We're not as easily swayed with people that are like, I have all the answers. It's this perspective. This is the right one. Well, maybe aspects, sure. Yeah, I can see your point on da 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 da, but none of us have all the answers. I mean, I don't know about you, but I would not want all the answers. How boring would that be? There's no joy in figuring it out. There's no discovery. There's no curiosity. Ugh, no thanks. So let's kind of break down some of what I'm talking about here. So I've labeled these as enemies, and I don't really like that now. I was more in like a or a gaming headspace when I did this. So we'll call them the binary brain. This is the clickbait logic. So here's the and exercise that I want you to start to practice to see if this works for you. See if this helps give you a little bit more space to breathe as you're scrolling. When you feel yourself reacting strongly to a headline, social media post, pause. when you feel the reaction, whether it's mental, it's emotional, it's physical, okay, I want that reaction to be your cue to pause. And in that pause, I want you to insert an and. So, for example, this politician is terrible and their supporters have legitimate fears about the economy. Just given real basic broad strokes. Politics is a pretty volatile topic, right? Real easy to set people off with politics of any type. This is not about agreement. It's also, I'm not trying to insert rage here. What I'm trying to do is illustrate with a broadly agreed upon volatile topic, politics, right, of a way to insert the and here. So again, this is not about agreement. It's not about right or wrong. It's about expanding our field of vision. It's about our own ability to give ourselves breathing space from the outrage culture, right? Because no one's going to step in and do it for you. This is an active practice that we need to start engaging in. Okay, the second, well, I've actually got a few. So, well, I've got three total. Okay, so the second one is the algorithmic echo chamber. Yeah, been there, done that. That's how it got me here. So, the flip of that is the conscious consumption. So, for here, intentionally follow one person or source you deeply disagree with, not to fight, isn't necessarily to leave a comment or anything like that. It's to understand their worldview. So the goal isn't to be converted, it's to see the human behind the caricature. It's to start noticing some of the commonalities that we have, the love of our families, the desire for everyone to do better. I realize there are people outside of these parameters. Okay, so this is not meant to be some kumbaya, glorious type deal, right? I'm not trying to give titles or labels to anybody that hasn't shown themselves to be that. What I'm trying to do here is to give myself more breathing space from the digital world that I'm seeing, which I feel inside my being is incredibly heavy. And I feel it's incredibly toxic. And I notice within me as I'm scrolling the weight and the deterioration of my humanity as I continue to scroll through it. And my compassion is being eroded by all of this outrage and the us versus them. So, this is meant to be a way to give space. And these are things that I've been practicing. These are things that I've been doing actively myself. That's why I'm offering them here. So I want you to take a moment and think about a topic that you find heavy, that you find is very challenging. Perhaps it is politics. Maybe it's discussion of artwork. Maybe it's I don't know, maybe it's some sort of physics algorithm, or not algorithm, physics, what is the word I'm looking for here? Math equation. And there's disagreement on that, right? Whatever your chosen topic is, when you scroll through that, I want you to notice what happens. And then when you come across a source that you don't like, now, I'm not talking about sources that are intentionally putting out disinformation or misinformation. That's not what I'm talking about. Those to me are not valid sources. Okay, that's just content slop. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about, let's say, let's use physics for an example. There's now I have no frame of reference. I'm not a physicist, so I take this with a grain of salt. Laugh at my analogy. Please feel free to correct me where I'm getting it wrong. Let's say there's a physicist saying that there's one way to approach this math equation. You completely disagree. It should be approached from a completely different vantage point. Again, I'm not a physicist. I don't know a physicist. I don't know if this is even remotely possible. So listen, my point here is listen to that source to see what they're talking about. Again, not to fight, to understand their worldview, to understand how they're getting from A to B, right? It's giving you breathing space. Okay. This is about you expanding your breathing space. It's about giving you the ability to have more nuance in your day to day so that you as well do not continue in the us versus them or the outrage that we're constantly being sold. So, last one is the rush to judgment. Yeah, been there, done that as well. Did it earlier today, in fact. So, yeah, yay, still a work in progress. Okay, so what I've been practicing here is the maybe mantra. So, when someone shares, a friend, a loved one, coworker, whoever it is, shares a complex problem, resist the urge to fix it or offer a solution at all. Instead, just listen and practice saying, that sounds incredibly complex. There are probably many sides to this. Offer presence, not solutions. So, drop it in the comments if you've ever had a situation where you went to someone that you trusted and you just kind of wanted to verbalize what was happening. You didn't necessarily need or want a solution or options. You just needed to verbalize what was happening in that moment from a situation, an interaction, a thought, an idea, a paper, whatever, right? And that person just downloads all of their solutions and they're like, yeah, here, go with this. And you were just like, that's no, that's not what I needed. I just wanted your presence, right? So this is meant to be a putting ourselves in each other's shoes, right? Just take a moment and listen. Just be there with that person. We don't necessarily need or want answers, right? Sometimes we talk back and forth about stuff. So, okay. Just wanted to take a moment. I feel like I rushed through these, so I'm trying to slow my roll with these and just allow it to kind of percolate, let the words settle. Okay. So, this is kind of where I want to point out that this is where we shift from meditation as tool for stress relief to an essential path for mental freedom. The cushion is the gym where we strengthen the nuance muscle, right? We're actively giving ourselves that breathing space to say maybe, to simply be present, to question what's happening in the moment as we're being confronted by things that our body is telling us doesn't add up or does not feel right or is creating tension, friction, pain, right? So this is part of the active aspect of meditation. It's not simply a tool. It's now actually the active path that we're walking. It's an active skill we're building to be present, to be open, compassionate, allowing that breathing space from moment to moment, which I'm not seeing a whole lot of just kind of in my own world. And part of that's my own creation, which is why I'm working so hard on looking at different aspects that I can allow more breathing space, right? Part of why I wanted to throw together some nuance, help myself look at it a little bit deeper, and figured I'd share it. Hopefully, it'll help you as well. Okay, so I want you to close your eyes on this part and I want you to kind of walk through this one with me. This one's more of a me telling a story and I want you to notice what's happening for you. So you're meditating however you meditate, so bring that up to mind. Your mind says, this is amazing, I'm so peaceful. A moment later, it's saying, this is boring, I'm a failure. I want you to really think about those times where that's happened. That happens to me still. And then I catch myself grasping on the amazing, so peaceful, and trying to shove away the bored, I'm a failure, right? There's that there's the tension, and I forget to focus on breathing and giving myself that space between the thoughts, reaction, and simply being. So again, keeping your eyes closed, thinking about your own practice. The untrained mind gets hooked by each thought, believing it to be the absolute truth. When we train our minds through practice, we learn to observe thoughts and say, ah, interesting, a thought of peace and a thought of failure. Both, both are rising up and both will pass. With this meditation, I wanted to offer ways to learn to hold opposing thoughts without needing to act on either, because that is the meditation, regardless of how that shows up. So as you're visualizing a past meditation, maybe it was a couple minutes ago, maybe it was yesterday, whenever it was, I want you to acknowledge the fact that you showed up and that both of these thoughts, all of these thoughts came through. Because that is the very essence of nuance. Thoughts going on. And the capacity to hold conflicting feelings and ideas without immediately needing to resolve the tension. That's the point. And no, it's not to make light of the struggle that the sheer act of just sitting there and allowing it to flow up freely can be. That is not to diminish, demean, or dismiss the struggle that can be inherent within that in and of itself, because that can be a battle. It's merely to call out the beauty of it as well. It can be both a struggle and beautiful. So I wanted to dedicate some time to honoring this aspect of it as well, without corporatizing it, without making it seem like it's all, bright, shiny lights and la 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 la, because it's not. And I also wanted to put this firmly in the lived context of what I'm going through. And again, I don't know if anyone else relates to this. So I want you to add what you do relate to. If this sparks a thought for you, or like, yeah, actually I had that with this. I want you to bring that in, because that's the point of this, is your lived experience. It's to bring this beauty of nuance and respect for nuance back into our critical inquiry along with the practice itself, because it is a practice in and of itself, in my humble estimation. So, bringing this full circle, we started by looking at meditation itself as both a tool and a path, right? Navigate the fallibility of our guides. Now we're looking at the ultimate purpose of the practice, which is to rewire our minds to meet a complex world with flexibility instead of fragility. And something I wanted to call out, just I didn't put this in my notes, but meditation in and of itself, all the different forms of meditative practice. Okay, this is an umbrella that I'm including all meditative practice. The practice itself is not fragile. It has withstood centuries in various forms. It's us being able to be flexible and utilizing these practices, these tools in between all of those spaces that you may not see another, meditative person speaking to, then you should. You bring it up, you talk about it. That's what I'm trying to do here, is to show that meditation is not just a one size fits all. There are so many incredible ways to apply your meditative practice to a myriad of ways in our world that would benefit you. So I wanted to offer this as a sounding board for hopefully you to see different ways that you can apply your meditative practice to make it truly multifaceted. And this was also meant to reclaim nuance, abstract philosophical exercise, but as the survival skill of our current era. I mean, you let me know in the comments. I am seeing less and less nuance. Yes, there are some instances where creators I follow, there are several that specifically bring in the nuance, the context, the different layers into topics. Largely, that seems to be missing from what the algorithm is shoving outward, right? It's never a nuanced conversation. It's got to be a debate, or it's so and so destroyed so and so, one hot take, or you know what I'm saying? It's that type of thing. And I feel really drained in that type of world. That's exhausting to me. That's not a conversation. That feels like just stepping into a room where people are just yelling back and forth, but nobody's really listening. That's how it feels to me. So I wanted to really bring this into a meditative frame because that's how I apply it. And nuance to me is important. Nuance is a part of conversation, right? Conversations have different layers to them. So does meditation. So I wanted to take it out of an abstract and put it into actual use because I feel that this is how we find grace under pressure. At least that's how I've been able to do it, is with the meditative practices that I have been using for the past 10 years. And yeah, it changes. They take on different forms. I add layers. It grows with me. It is still what I reach for. Mantras are my go-to for help. Mudras are my go-to for help. Certain meditations are my go-to for help. This also gives us compassion in conflict. And considering how widely conflicted we seem to be, or that at least that's what the algorithm is projecting, that everything is just one giant conflict, this helps us actually give breathing space and meet it with compassion instead of yet another voice yelling. And of course, genuine connection in a divided world. And again, I don't know what your algorithm looks like. They're all so-called individualized. Maybe yours is much calmer than mine. I sincerely hope so, because from what I'm seeing in mine, it's kind of just a dumpster fire. So I wanted to offer something that puts the fire out, that elevates in an actual meaningful way, speaking to the realities that I'm seeing at least, because I don't think that it's all love and light. Yes, I do think that there is love and light. I'm not saying those aren't there. I'm saying that the love and light is beside the dark and damp, right? Like there is actual contrast here. And just breathe sometimes needs a mantra to help. Um, and the conversation about just breathe also needs to be had as well. There's context, there's nuance there. So, our spiritual practice, when we approach it with this conscious flexibility, is our training ground for a more thoughtful, resilient, and truly compassionate life. As I've outlined here, this is not just, breathe through oppression. This is not just love and light your way through suffering. This is real life application of meditation that helps you see what you need to see in order to elevate from where you are in your own unique way. It's meant to be grounded, not just more cliches, because I've had my fill of those. I want actual tangible ways to help myself. And these are some of the ways that, especially with all of the madness that I'm seeing in my algorithm. So I hope that this was at least elevating for you at the bare minimum. I hope that you got something out of this series, some kind of tool that you can put to practice. Like I say, the both and check in with yourself as you're scrolling. Notice what's happening within you because you matter. Your experience in that moment is reaching out to you, asking you to check in and look at what's happening as you're going through it. Listen to that because you matter. Your experience matters. And of course, maybe I'll give it a try. Maybe I can show up and simply offer presence and not solutions. Maybe. Seek out people that you don't agree with. Check out their worldview. Maybe there's something in there that you agree on, and something you can push back against. It's a conversation, right? All right. Well, that's all I had for this evening. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you found something helpful in here. Feel free to drop it in the comments if you did. Feel free to drop it in the comments if there's something else you would like to see, if this brought up a question for you that you'd like answered or maybe explored. I'd be happy to dive into that as well. So again, thank you for being with me. I'm glad you were here, and I'll see you next time.